The engineer.
Oui, the engineer while the train was in the Belgrade station. And then there is the crate of Monsieur Ratchet and its unknown occupant. What clues associate themselves with that crate, mademoiselle?
The pile of books.
Oui, the uniform I think worn by the person the engineer saw. The pile of books mademoiselle believes were useful in the planning of the crime, yet no one has mentioned them. And the fact that the person with access to that key would be in the best position to tell us something of the occupant of that crate. And lastly, there is the little matter of the kidnapping of Mademoiselle Marceau.
The what?
Monsieur Foscarelli.
I would not harm the signorina.
It is why we are all here, to punish the kidnapper.
She's right, Poirot. How can you think any of us would resort to kidnapping after all we've been through?
As you can see, Monsieur Perkison, we have pieced together much of your story. Only the reasons remain, and I leave those to you.
What did you call him?
He called him Perkinson.
That is my name. Robert Perkinson.
Silence! At once! You will obey me in this and listen to what Monsieur Perkinson has to say. You owe to Poirot that, I think.
Please understand. I know how you must hate me. It was my dear wife Isabella, the unidentified woman the papers mentioned, who pleaded with Paul and me as the police closed in to let her take Daisy away. She was sick with grief.
Take Daisy away?
Cassetti killed the wrong little girl. He crept up while Teresa was alone outside and shot her in cold blood. He was gone again before we knew what had happened. We'd refused his orders to kill Daisy, you see, so he took matters into his own hands and killed my little girl by mistake. If any group of people could know exactly how my wife felt, you are here before me. And we were afraid. Some accident when the police came. It was unthinkable the little girl should come to harm after we had just buried our own daughter. Some time after I escaped, after Paul had died in the electric chair, and Isabella had identified some John Doe found floating in the harbor as me, I joined Isabella and Daisy in France, where they now lived as mother and daughter. I knew we should return the child, but my wife would have died the day she was gone. The child now answered to the name of our little girl, Teresa, and called my wife Mama. You understood the meaning of the photograph, Mr. Poirot?
Your family. You, your wife, and your little girl. And once I realized that, I knew that you could not be Pierre Michel. I then began to consider who you must be. Only one figure could not be accounted for with certainty. Robert Perkinson.
Last year, only days after my Isabella succumbed to a cancer that I think grew inside of her since the day of the kidnapping, I sought out Michel. He informed me of the plan to punish Cassetti, a plan that he, despite the death of his niece, never thought he could see through. He showed me the letters Mrs. Hubbard had written to him. He was in a terrible state.
He had seen Cassetti?
Yes, twice. On this very train. I could see he was not a strong man and would not be able to face Ratchet. I looked at those letters and asked him one question. Had Mrs. Hubbard or any of the others ever met him in person? His answer was no. I wanted Cassetti dead as much as any of you. He killed my child, and just as surely my wife. So here I am.
But, my granddaughter?
She has been staying with my wife's sister in Belgrade for the past few days. She came aboard the train there last night, dressed in an attendant's uniform. She changed into her regular clothes and has been camping out, as she calls it. The nuns at her school have kept up her studies, in English as well as French.
She is a good student indeed, to have brought all her school books with her on the campout.
I told her to study. She has been staying in the baggage car in Ratchet's crate. Last night I took some food from Klaus's kitchen when he had gone off for a moment.
And the statue worth $4,000?
I dumped it on a trash heap near Sir Keki's station, I'm afraid. This cargo is far more precious.
At last, the riddle it is solved, n'est-ce pas, mademoiselle? And with a most satisfactory solution indeed. Mademoiselle Marceau, while they enjoy this brief moment before you render your final decision, let us, you and I, see whether you are up to the challenge that Poirot presented to you when our investigation began. Let us check the progress report you have been keeping in your scrapbook. Mademoiselle Marceau, Poirot must compliment you on a job well done. You are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. You solve many puzzles that confront you, overcome many obstacles with enthusiasm and good humor. An above-average performance in every respect. Hopefully, with the knowledge you now have of my methods, you might do even better should you ever find yourself faced with another mystery to solve. You are the representative of the train company, Mademoiselle Marceau. You have been instrumental in assembling the evidence that pointed to the solutions I have now shared. And you have been ill-used.
I am truly sorry, mademoiselle. I left you all of your belongings in that box, except the one I needed back, the key to the security room. You now know why. My precious cargo had to eat. You have proven to be most ingenious. Twice you almost discovered my secret passenger. I left the parasol for you to discover. I had no doubt you would free yourself. If not, I would have found an anonymous way to inform someone of your whereabouts.
I understand why you did it.
As Monsieur Parkinson so rightly observes, you have proven your gray cells to be almost equal to those of Hercule Poirot. So, what do you say, Mademoiselle Marceau? Which solution shall we present to the Yugoslavian police in Broad? Silence, s'il vous plaît. It is now time to hear what Mademoiselle Marceau has decided.
Here are my thoughts on the first solution. It is not the truth, but fits the facts, at least one set of facts, and it will be the simplest by far to explain. My opinion of the second solution is this. It is at least most of the truth, as much as 12 people in this car knew. They are self-confessed murderers, and yet, no, that word is wrong. Justice was done here. Of a kind, perhaps not the justice I would have preferred. In that, I agree with Colonel Arbuthnot. But still, can there be anyone, knowing Ratchet and knowing these people as well as I now do after only a few hours, who can't see the rightness of their cause? These are my feelings about the third solution. It is the whole truth. More heartache than even these 12 people knew. And it must stop somewhere, mustn't it? There are lives to build and rebuild here. I think of Greta's words on her postcard, and of the family that had one last day in the sun at Coney Island before the storm engulfed them. I think they all, including Monsieur Perkinson, deserve a chance in the sun again. Therefore, it is my belief, Monsieur Poirot, the first theory you put forward was the correct one. An unknown enemy of Monsieur Ratchet, whom the murdered man feared, sneaked aboard the train disguised as an attendant and is responsible for the murder. Unfortunately, he is still at large, or lies frozen in a snowbank somewhere awaiting the spring thaw. I suggest that is the solution we offer to the Yugoslavian police when we arrive in Broad.
Dr. Constantine?
Even if I did not owe you and Mademoiselle Marceau so much, I have learned to leave such matters to those best qualified to decide. I, of course, accept Mademoiselle Marceau's decision.
Why, exactly?
Yeah, that's my view. What did I tell you?
Yes, thank you.
Monsieur Poirot, your ankle!
It feels much better. And Poirot? He has been cooped up in his room far too long. He has the need of some fresh air.
Mr. Michel, I'm sorry, Perkinson. I cannot find it in my heart to hate you. All I find there is forgiveness and thankfulness for giving us back something we thought we'd lost forever. In fact, it seems you are now one of the family.
Thank you.
Daisy, child, my dear, I am your grandmother.